Is the ASUS ROG Ally X the ultimate handheld?
Oh, big statement. And can we just say, firstly, they're not paying us. When you did your review, everyone's like, they're being paid. It's like, no, really, they don't pay you anything. But they did send us a test unit pre-release.
Yes.
Thank you, ASUS.
Yeah, big thank you.
It's been awesome to get hands-on with it.
Sorry it gets lost in shipping.
If it gets lost being sent back to you, just know that it's in joint custody of me and Andy. Okay, is this peak handheld? So you've had a while with it now.
I've had it, a while now, yeah.
You got to deep dive with it.
I did.
Hopefully you've all seen the review by now, which is really good. Well done.
Oh, thank you. Yes, yeah.
We've got some thoughts. We want to just kind of go into it a bit more detail, a bit of a conversation about it.
Yeah, totally.
I don't want to compare it to the Steam Deck. I think that's unfair to do it in this video.
Yes, that's going to be a dedicated video.
But long-time viewers of the channel will know that we are huge Steam Deck fans.
Oh, absolutely. And I still am. And we both still are.
Yes.
You know, that doesn't change anything. But this is different.
This changes everything.
Ew.
And I think there's a very specific place that it changes everything. Yeah. And it's that I can play everything all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. Play all your games.
And without the hamstrings of the performance, the lack of performance that you may get from the Steam Deck.
Yeah, with AAA titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a AAA machine.
Yes.
You know, like not for like doing your emulation. I mean, this can do everything, but I mean, for me, this is where it excels is if you want to play the most modern, latest games on any kind of platform in PC land, this is where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way I see it.
So I had some reservations about this, first of all. I think the big one is the price. That's a bit of a reservation.
It's high.
It is expensive. The kind of two key problems I had before actually using it. One was that it's Windows.
Yes.
And we talked a lot about this.
Oh, we have done, yeah.
And the other is the screen not being an OLED.
Absolutely.
Let's address the Windows thing first.
Yes.
What's your experience of it not being just all kind of big picture mode all the time?
So I totally, as you did, was a bit like, I don't know about Windows on a handheld. Like, how's that going to work? Because it's not Microsoft still haven't released like a slimline version of Windows, which they need to do. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But I feel like this is actually usable. I mean, ASUS have given you that controller layout which you can flip between or use auto, so you can make it a dedicated like controller as if you've plugged a controller in, or you can basically use it like a mouse and keyboard and stuff.
Mode, is it?
You got like desktop mode, and it makes it easy to navigate. Now, what I didn't say in the review is it actually comes with Windows in like a tablet mode. Okay. So it's all like touchscreen and stuff. Yeah. Like, you know, it makes it a bit easier, but I'm so like, I've been a PC gamer for like 20 odd years, you know, so I'm so used to how Windows is, I don't want it changed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I could navigate it easier and understand where stuff was and whatever if it was just like a laptop or a desktop. So I straight away went and changed that. I was like, I don't like all this touchscreen stuff. I was like, remove all that. Let's just turn it into a laptop. And to be honest, using the desktop controller feature mode just made it so much easier. But again, that's only for setup.
Yeah.
Like once I'd set everything up, those first few hours of like, okay, signing into everything, downloading stuff, you just use the Armory Crate software and all your games are just there and all the launchers are just there.
It works. The Armory Crate works seamlessly. Yeah. Obviously, you can go into like the Valve library as well, and it just kind of looks like a Steam Deck.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Open Steam in big picture mode, which it does automatically. Yeah. And then you've just got a Steam Deck.
I will say it's still, coming from someone's perspective of someone who's kind of more on the kind of casual side of gaming, I'm not into PC gaming. Yeah. It is slightly weird seeing Windows in a handheld. Yeah. That is an odd experience.
Yeah. Especially how I've got it laid out. Unfortunately, I didn't show you how it comes out of the box with the like touchscreeny weirdness. So it looks even weirder because I've literally made it like a laptop.
It's proper desktop mode.
It's full on desktop Windows. Yeah.
Yes, that is a bit odd, but honestly, with Armory Crate, it's a very accessible experience, and that was the bit I was worried about.
Me too.
Was that it was going to be too much of a hurdle. It's just for PC gamers.
Absolutely.
It really isn't.
Yes. And I don't know what they've changed, because I know they've changed Armory Crate for this.
Yeah.
And I believe that gets updated on the original Allies too, but I'm not too sure. So I don't know what it was like prior to this, but this experience, really easy. Everything's there.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need anything else, really.
So the huge thing with it obviously being Windows, a lot of this maybe is really obvious to everyone's watching.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, but there's going to be a huge amount of our regular viewers that it isn't obvious to.
Yes.
The biggest thing with it being Windows-based is you can play anything that was blocked by the anti-cheat software with the Linux problem.
Yep.
Call of Duty, Destiny, those kind of games, which are awesome on this.
Oh, yeah.
You have access to Game Pass and access to the Steam library as well. It's like
everything.
All of your games.
You've got Ubisoft Connect, you've got Blizzard Launcher, like everything is on there. Anything you want. You could play freaking Flash games on Google if you want to. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got everything on there. The other thing as well is, obviously, I know we're not comparing here, but with Steam, because it's running Windows, every game's going to run.
Yes.
It's not like on Steam Deck where you've got to see if it's verified, untested,
it's
not
the right
supported.
Proton.
It's just going to work. Like, obviously, there might be some hurdles to launch like really old titles or whatever, but effectively, if you can run it on PC, you can run it on this.
Yeah.
You know, so it's...
Time will tell. I think one of the hang-ups that I have is support long-term. We've talked about how good that is with the Steam Deck. How many problems you may run into with like Windows updating as time goes on. That's historically a hurdle that PC gamers is kind of part of the rhythm of PC gaming is problem solving.
And updating like everything. I mean, luckily on Armory Crate they've got the update center, which does its best job of trying to update everything. So I think that's quite good that there's that inclusion rather than trying to have to go through manually and update certain things. But there we go.
Onto the screen.
Oh, yes. Because this was a big thing.
Huge thing.
Yeah, massive thing. And I was skeptical, like, you know, because I've got the Steam Deck OLED, love it, it's amazing. And I've always been a bit like, it's not OLED, man. You know, like, it's not OLED. But yes, it's VRR. It's got FreeSync. It's 120 hertz LCD. And I was just like, yeah, but it's LCD. Like, you know, and I honestly thought that was going to hold it back for me. But what are your experiences with it?
I was genuinely shocked. Since the Switch OLED and then the Steam Deck OLED, every time I've seen an OLED panel, it's like, well, once you've seen it, you can't go any other way.
Yeah.
And it is... I still stand by that in many ways.
Yes.
It is like a generational leap once you see one of those panels. But credit to ASUS with this. What they've done with this panel is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
The VRR support, which you can't get with the OLED panels at the moment, or at least not in an efficient way. It makes gameplay absolutely beautiful.
What does it make it? Does it make it
buttery smooth?
Oh,
that's like the bingo card for you.
I think I said that about 400 times.
I think you might have said 4. Yeah, easily. Yeah. I think you like butter.
Yes,
and smoothness.
Smooth butter.
It makes it buttery smooth.
It does.
It really does. The concerns about viewing angles, you even brought it up, but I think you might have done it a misservice on that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It seems like a perfect viewing angle until the whole thing's obscured by the chassis.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's weird because when I was testing it, obviously I was in my studio and stuff and just in the house.
Yeah.
Wherever I was, I'd think I was downstairs and I've got huge bay windows on the front of our house. I think what I must have done is tilted it towards the window and just had complete glare over it and mistakenly thought that was washing it out.
Could be.
And then I never bothered to test the angle upstairs in the controlled...
Because you're lazy.
Yeah, in the controlled environment. Whereas testing it here where we control the lights, you would like tilting it. I was like, oh, okay, it doesn't wash out at all. No. It's an IPS panel.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, any angle you look at it, it's great.
The VRR thing is, it's in many respects, it's as exciting as when you first see an OLED in a handheld device. It's one of those things you have to experience to really, really kind of get the point across. It is incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
I can't decide which I think is more important for me personally. The beauty of an OLED panel.
Yes.
Or the buttery smoothness of that high frame rate.
The frame rate thing, I think, pairs so nicely with the Z1 Extreme APU in this, because it's more powerful than like the Steam Deck, and you're going to get really good frame rates out of this device, as we already know with the original. But obviously, you've got more RAM here, you've got a bigger battery, so you can push the TDP a bit more here, especially if you've got it plugged in, maxed out 30 watts. You're going to get really decent FPS. So having a VRR screen and then having FreeSync as well, you're tallying up the output of frames with the refresh of the screen so that it's perfect, no screen tearing, and VRR comes into play like between 48 and 60 frames, which you're probably going to be trying to get games in that range anyway to save even more battery life. Even games that can run at 120 frames per second, that's great. But if you're trying to reserve battery, you want it lower, or maybe you're running the latest game that's just dropped and it's only running between those sort of frames, it's going to look like you're playing at 100 FPS because it's so smooth. There's no jitter. There's no like delay or like frame skipping or anything. Do you know what I mean? It's so good.
Battery life is actually, you've kind of touched upon it there, so it makes sense to go into it. They've doubled the battery size in this from the previous.
I can't remember if it was a 40 or a 50 watt previously. I think it was a 40 watt.
I'm sure it was 40 watt. It's now 80.
It's 80
watt hours.
Yeah.
ASUS have been very specific with us. They were like, do what you want, but there's a couple of things you can't do. Just to address some of the comments that we got. We can't show FPS readouts. We can't talk about like certain very specific like kind of benchmarking things. Our audience isn't particularly interested in that anyway. But that's because this is a pre-release model. So
this is a test unit. It's not a retail unit. This isn't off the shelf at your shop. You won't be able to buy this. So there could be some
kind of
discrepancies.
pre-productions.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can kind of roughly talk about what your experiences with the battery were like.
Really good. Yeah. So because I've got no hands-on with the first one. When that came out and I looked at like graphs, which aren't always representative of real life situations, but you're looking at like an hour of running a game, like a modern game, and it's like
an hour's not enough.
That's pretty low.
No.
I can say it's much longer than that. And without saying what TDP and what FPS and stuff, we were playing Diablo. And I had my headset, which is a wireless headset, which wasn't fully charged because when I plugged it in, it started charging my headset. So I'm charging my headset. I'm playing the game with like the best settings I could, with the highest FPS I could.
With Discord in the background.
With Discord running in the background, which we were talking on. And we were playing for ages. I was getting over 2.5 hours. And I didn't even run it to 0.
That's pretty incredible.
So I got it down to 10%. So, that's kind of a bit vague. But that's probably all I'm allowed to say.
It's gone from being a problem to being very more than usable.
Totally
do you know what I mean?
Usable.
Like actually really good.
And I was trying to get the best performance. If I'd have pulled the power down and if I'd have capped the FPS at like 30, and maybe dimmed the screen a bit more and turned the RGB LED lights off the thumbstick rings and wasn't charging my headset and talking over it, who knows what that could have been. I think eke out a lot of battery life.
Obviously the increase in RAM is the biggest performance bump they've given this one. But when you talk to ASUS and anything that they've put out, their main focus was to respond to the biggest concern about the original ROG Ally, and that was the battery life. And so everything they've done is to improve battery life, from the capacity to one of the reasons they didn't put an OLED panel in was VRR support, and also that the current panel is more efficient for power. It's incredible. The heat concerns I had was something that is this high performance, that is running games at that higher FPS all the time. I was genuine, and like AAA titles. I was genuinely concerned that this thing was going to be a mini toaster.
I thought it was going to be loud for the start. I thought the fans was just going to be like for ages. Like, like for like an hour. I thought it was going to be loud, and I thought it was going to be hot. No. Just no.
It's kind of crazy.
It's mad.
You can definitely feel the fans working.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were playing Destiny earlier. And you could definitely feel the fans working. You could feel it ejecting. Hi-Fi Rush is another game we were playing earlier as well.
And Call of Duty.
Yeah. and I'll just say a Hi-Fi Rush, it was banging out the FPS.
Yeah,
I'm not allowed to tell you what, but it was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was. Yeah, mad.
I could feel hot air ejecting from the fans at the top, but the chassis itself was still cool to the touch.
And we only had the game volume at 40%?
Yeah.
You couldn't hear the fans.
Couldn't hear the fans at all. No way.
Man.
So they've done, I don't know what wizardry they've done there, but I've not experienced that level of efficiency in cooling on any laptop or handheld device.
It surprised me because, like many things, you don't realize when it's not happening, if that makes sense. So when we were playing, we played for over 4 hours Diablo. Obviously I plugged the battery, like the charger in, and then I was playing it higher. I put it on 30 watt, so like, give me everything. I was getting this thing churning, and over 4 hours, we probably played like maybe 4.5 hours total. And it was then that I realized my palms were a bit sweaty because we'd been like so intensely gaming,
smashing the hell tides.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was like, hang on. It's like, this thing's cool.
Yeah.
It was only at the top sort of middle that it was warm.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, that's too hot. Like my laptop, you play 15 minutes and the thing's cooking. You could crack an egg on that, But this really surprised me. Obviously, it's quite thick and they've got some cooling mojo magic going on.
There's some cooling. That's the scientific terms. Actually, ASUS put that in the press stuff they sent to us.
They said, please include this term.
Cooling mojo magic stuff.
That's it. Yeah. So that's what they've done. They've put some cooling mojo magic in
Extra
there.
Gandalf.
Yeah. and Austin Powers. He lost his mojo because it's in the ASUS ROG Ally X. Yeah.
Okay, the other kind of elephant in the room that has to be addressed is the ergonomics. Now, we were, how can I put this? Hypercritical about the ergonomics of the original ROG Ally.
Oh, yeah.
And the advert of the broken thumb of doom.
Yeah, the broken thumb. I included that in the review because I had to.
It's amazing. The crooked thumb positioning. Now, this is slightly different because they've got the extended and curved base.
Yeah, and they have moved the sticks as well from the original.
I was still worried.
That was one of my biggest number one problems, like going into this.
And it's kind of illogical when I look at it that it would work. It totally works.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
It totally works.
Yeah.
The thumb position, especially your right hand.
Yes. Yeah.
Which kind of makes me wish that this personally was swapped where the D-pad is. I think then you've got that PlayStation kind of layout.
That's the more, sort of PlayStation kind of
and
style.
I think perhaps that would have been better. But that's that's nitpicking personal preference.
Yeah, for me, that wasn't an issue. I never thought that once.
Ergonomics are beautiful. You don't have any of the little finger doom.
No, you don't need to. I mean, initially you did what I did, where you automatically go to,
like cradling it,
and then I was like, no,
switch.
just try not to.
Yeah.
And then immediately you're like, oh yeah,
it's fine.
You don't need to.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, you don't need to.
The right thumb position in particular, it lends itself to like a specific type of gaming as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And really, I may be doing it a little disservice, but it lends itself to the type of games that a lot more people are going to play on this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the first-person shooters.
Yes.
Those big AAA titles where, or twin stick, it's...
Yeah.
Where right-hand accuracy is everything.
Yes.
With the Steam... I don't want to compare it. That's a future video that we'll do.
Yeah.
With the Steam Deck, though, it does feel a little skatey in comparison.
Yeah.
It's hard to get full extension with your thumb because it's of the layout being at the top. With this, it's magic.
Perfect, isn't it? Yeah. I mean,
magic.
I was playing so many different games that were FPS that I don't normally play on the Steam Deck.
No.
Because half the time, it A, can't even run them, or B, I don't feel comfortable with that stick, with this.
It made me, the Steam Deck made me assume that any kind of twin stick shooters or FPS games in general aren't for handheld. You just can't do it. You just don't do it. Unless you're buying some kind of additional grip or like the Switch, different Joy-Cons and stuff.
I got you.
This made me realise that it's totally doable.
It's totally
not just
doable.
For the performance, because that's obviously a big thing, but actually just the physical ergonomics of it.
And again, for me, that came out of the realisation of me just playing the games. I didn't go into it like testing it, because initially, obviously, we've had a good amount of time with this, which is great. I've enjoyed not rushing it and just living with it and enjoying it, rather than critically trying to like point out pieces. I was like, right, I'm going to load up Destiny 2. Obviously got sucked into it. I was like, I tested for like 15 minutes. I was playing it for like 3 hours
later.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, yeah. And, I was like playing it. And then I was like, hang on, I'm good at this?
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I good at this? Because on Steam Deck, if I do play an FPS, I feel like I suck at it.
Yes.
And I'm like, hang on a minute. And then I was like playing Call of Duty, top of the leaderboard, you know, and I was like on a handheld, which I found hilarious. And I was like, it's the right stick.
Yeah.
Because it's like using an Xbox controller.
I want to say I
control.
was obviously top of the leaderboard as well. I'm really good at Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I'm really expert at it.
Yeah. AJ took my my profile on my account. And I think you got 6 kills to 24 deaths.
That was it.
So, yeah.
I'd say the biggest flaw with the ASUS ROG Ally X is that no longer can I use the fact that it's a handheld to justify me sucking at Call of Duty.
But how good was it that you can play Call of Duty on this?
Oh, amazing. That takes me to the big point for me.
Yeah.
The crown jewels of this. I've been wanting a handheld console to play with at home.
Yeah.
Like all my gaming stuff is here at the studio.
Yeah.
And that's because the internet connection here is really good.
Yes.
And where I live, which is out in the countryside, sucks balls.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to have to buy like another PlayStation to have it. And that seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm not there enough to like be hooking up to TV. I just want something I can pick up, play for half an hour, and I've got done. So Steam Deck was everything for me. But the thing that was holding me back was I don't have any games in my Steam library.
Yeah.
Because I've always been on Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah.
So really, I want something that can play Game Pass so I don't have to buy all the games again.
Absolutely, yes.
Steam Deck will only really let me do that if I'm streaming it.
Yeah, and then, even then, not every title.
True, yeah. But then also I'm running into the problems that I've got originally, which is my internet connection at home sucks.
Absolutely.
So I need something that can play my Game Pass games natively.
Yep.
Suddenly we have it.
Yes, yeah, because you can do that on this.
And before I'd been put off with it, the price was too high for the limiting factors that it did have, and primarily of those was the battery life.
Yes, yeah.
That was like, it's just not worth it for 1 hour.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
You know, maybe 2 hours if it's being generous. But now suddenly this is like the perfect solution.
Absolutely.
Which is why I'm stealing it.
But that's the thing, included with that bigger battery means that you can enjoy these games more because you can just push it to the wall a bit more with the power, get better FPS, enjoy these more AAA titles, you know, and actually enjoy them rather than being limited and trying to have workarounds. Like with the Steam Deck, I'm always trying to balance, like, does it look like a potato so I can get some FPS that's playable? You know, like even playing, let's say, Hogwarts Legacy, you know, you're like dipping into 20 FPS on the Steam Deck.
Hogwarts Legacy has never looked good handheld.
No, and it's like, maybe it's been optimized recently, but whenever I've been playing it, it's like a big juggle.
Yeah.
Whereas on the Ally, you'd not, you know, I'm not saying FPS.
It's just like, it steamrollers through them.
It's a big improvement.
Insane.
It really is. And if you were at home, let's say, and you were playing for a couple of hours or whatever it might be, you plug it in and then get even better performance on the Ally, you know?
I mean, the big thing to acknowledge as it's kind of negative is that it is very expensive.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Well, they're asking like £700-800 for this.
£799 in the UK. 800 quid.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. You have to acknowledge it. And it's a lot for what is this probably going to be most people's second gaming device.
Yeah.
Which if you're from the console world like I am, it's actually more expensive than your console.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot. You're getting a lot more. You're probably even getting better performance than some of the consoles.
Yeah.
Especially like things like the Series S.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so much better than that.
Yeah.
There are some notable upgrades that we've not actually talked about.
Oh, yes.
The dual USB-C ports.
Yes,
with USB 4 as well.
Yeah.
Having 2 ports is just...
Oh, it's...
The fact that it didn't have it before.
I don't know why any... Like, Steam doesn't either.
No,
it's just one port. Like, why? I hate dongles. Like, unless you're putting it on a dock, which... Like, fine.
Dongles suck.
But I don't want to be sat there with a freaking USB-C. Like, I've got this
Christmas tree of cables.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a USB-C to like 4 USB-A dongle. And you've got this big thing hanging out. And then you've got all these cables plugged into it. With like heads. No. Just, you know, this makes it so much better.
Yeah.
And you can charge it at the same time.
Yes,
you know?
And that's my point. It's primarily that. Because it's a handheld device. You're living on charge a lot of the time.
Yeah.
We've talked about there's the increased RAM capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Is it gone to 24 gigs?
24 gig now from 16.
DDR5E?
DDR5 of some sort.
It's something like that. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they've announced it. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
The increased battery capacity. There was one other thing, and I can't remember what it was.
It's now 2280 SSDs.
That was it. Thank you. Yes.
Which, easily accessible, much cheaper prices than 2230s, and you could just drop it in. I mean, I'm sure people would be looking at laptops at around this sort of price.
Yeah.
And you could use this as a computer.
Yeah.
Like, if
that's
you could
a really interesting point.
Use this as a computer. You just plug it in to your computer, to monitor. Plug a keyboard and mouse in, you're ready to go. You could totally
I wonder if people are going to do that.
Yeah, loads of people do it on like Steam Deck and stuff. So absolutely.
Use it for productivity.
Yeah, 100%.
That's hilarious.
100%. And this, will be more capable because it's a fully fledged Windows device.
Yeah.
It's got some good power behind it and stuff. You plug it in,
I can actually totally get on board with that.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That's what makes the price more justifiable.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at spending 800 quid on a laptop, which you kind of need to minimum on a laptop, to be honest,
for certain. Yeah,
this comes with a terabyte drive now, whereas previously it was 500 gigs. So you've got a terabyte drive. It's now 2280.
Yeah.
You can just swap that out for a freaking 8 terabyte if you wanted,
Yeah.
and then away you go. If you're doing light work on it or whatever, easy. If you're doing homework or college work or whatever, easy peasy. You're on Windows. You can have it back up to your Google Drive or whatever if you wanted to. You could do your emails on there. You could
do your video editing.
You could do. I don't know about our video editing, but maybe light video editing, possibly. If you're doing some home movies or whatever, absolutely.
What kind of home movies do you do?
No, that's for our Discord members only. The private.
What a great segue to end the video, actually. If you do want to join our channel memberships, we'd love you to be there.
Yes.
You get access to our private Discord where you get to see pictures that Andy takes in his home movies, apparently.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Other stuff is available too.
It is, yes.
And if you like this video, please do like the video. And of course, subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
All that good stuff. Leave some comments below.
Yes, let us know if you're interested in the Ally X.
Any questions you've got. And while we've still got it before ASUS take it back off us, we'll try to answer them.
Yeah, before it gets lost in shipping, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you've not seen it yet, watch the full review.
Yes.
It's going to be there.
Yes.
And maybe some podcast stuff.
Yes, watch the podcast. Do it.
So until the next time.
Bye.